Okay, so it's great that we've gotten our application to tell us that two objects are colliding, but maybe it's time to have it do something a little more useful with that information. Now the first step towards doing that is, once the system has detected that two objects have run into each other, figuring out what those two objects are. And we can use that by looking at a parameter that's being passed to all of our functions in the contact listener. You'll notice that each function has a B2 contact point as a parameter. We're going to be able to use this parameter to figure out what's running into what. But it's actually going to take a little bit of work to work our way up to the actor level. What I mean is this. Basically, we've got our B2 contact point, and that is going to tell us what two shapes have run into each other. Now, as you remember, these shapes are part of a body, and at least in our program, these bodies are part of an actor. Now, sort of deducing our way up this tree is going to involve a few steps. Figuring out the shapes is actually pretty easy. It turns out the B2 contact point, which is an object, has two, I think they're public variables called shape1 and shape2, and these happen to be the B2 shapes that are involved in the collision. Now, figuring out from the shape what body it belongs to is actually also pretty easy, because every B2 shape comes with a method called getBody, which returns the body that it's part of. So far, so good. Getting from the body to the actor is going to be tricky, because obviously Box2D doesn't necessarily know about the concept of actors. There's no built-in function in B2 body that lets us know what actor it belongs to. However, it does have some other functions that we can use, specifically setUserData and getUserData. These functions basically allow us to attach any arbitrary data we want to a B2 body. It basically lets you set any variable of any type, whether it's an object, whether it's an array, whether it's a string. It lets you attach that to a B2 body. It turns out shapes also have the setUserData and getUserData functions. So if we were to set the user data of a B2 body to be its actor, then we can always figure out what actor a B2 body belongs to. And so I'm going to show you that right now. We're going to go back into our code, and we're going to open up our actor class. And at this point here, where we have set the body member variable to be the myBody parameter that's passed in, I'm going to call the setUserData function, and I'm going to point it to this. In other words, the user data of this B2 body is now pointing to the actor that contains it. So how is that going to work? Well, let's go back to our Puggle contact listener. And basically, what we can do now is, let's just show you a little trace statement. And at this point, I'm going to look at our point, and I'm going to call shape1. All right, that, by definition, is a B2 shape. So it also has this getBody function. And that, by definition, returns a B2 body, which then I can use to call setUserData. And that, we can pretty much guarantee, is going to be the actor class, because we haven't created any body in our world that's not part of an actor. Note, by the way, if we had added some B2 bodies to the world that weren't part of an actor, this would return null. And if we want to be really safe, it might be worth checking that. So now, when I run this, we're going to see a few collisions here. And it looks like in the few seconds that I ran this application, we had 5 collisions. The first one was clearly the ball actor hitting something. The second was also the ball actor hitting something. The third was the ball actor hitting something. I think in all those cases they hit pegs. The fourth and fifth collision, it was something colliding with the arbitrary static actor. Now you might notice something. In all of these collisions, it's fairly obvious that it was our ball running into something. However, in these first 3 collisions, it was the ball in shape 1. In these second 2 collisions, clearly the ball must have been in shape 2. Which brings up an important point, which is this. You can never guarantee what actor is going to belong to what shape. In other words, if I wanted to detect whether a ball was hitting something, I would have to check both shape 1 and shape 2. I found that, if an actor is assigned to shape 1 or shape 2, it seems to be sort of consistent, but it's also sort of unpredictable. I think it all depends on what order these objects are added to the world and that sort of thing. But I don't think you can ever feel safe assuming that any one actor is going to be either the shape 1 or the shape 2 of the collision. So let's go back to our code, and let's be a little smarter with our Puggle contact listener by checking whether this collision involves a ball hitting a peg. And so I'm going to delete this, and let's just check here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check if shape 1 is part of a peg actor and shape 2 is part of a ball actor. So in other words, I'm going to say if our point, shape 1, now that's basically a public variable, so I can call it like this. But then getBody is a function, so I have to make sure I call the function. That's going to return a B2 body, and then I can call getUserData to return the actor that it belongs to. If all of that is a peg actor, and if for shape 2, you get the body of that, and then you get the user data of that, if that is a ball actor, we can basically say, yay, ball hit a peg. Or we can say this for some of our collisions. We should be thorough and make sure that we also detect if a ball hits a peg if shape 1 is the ball and shape 2 is the peg. In other words, I'm going to say else if point shape 1 getBody getUserData is the ball actor, and our shape 2, getBody getUserData is a peg actor, then we can also say that a ball hit a peg. And I'm not crazy about this code, by the way. This seems like a fairly convoluted conditional that we could push out into a Boolean. We're duplicating code here. That's always bad. But for now, let's just run it and see what we get. So this seems to be working. If you notice in our output code, it is telling us every time the ball collides with the peg, and then it's detecting these other collisions where the ball is clearly hitting our arbitrary static actor, but it's not telling me that a ball hit a peg in those cases. So what's great is not only have we detected that the ball has hit a peg, but if you'll notice, I now can access the actual peg actor that's been hit through this point shape 1 getBody getUserData function, and vice versa here. And so we will take advantage of that in the next lesson.